I have been waiting for a long, long time to make this video, and I have been clamoring at the opportunity to be able to give my 2 cents. And I'm very thankful, regardless, because just this platform, regardless of whether one person watches it or 100, it gave me an opportunity to vent out certain things that I've normally you have a conversation with your brother, you have a conversation with a roommate or parent, and you really sometimes your opinion you just want to say what you want to say. And sometimes you're just like, I don't know. I don't really want to repeat the same conversation that's being had. And last week on Thursday, when just it all broke loose, the gates opened. It was crazy. And I just am really thankful that I'm really able to just talk. And whoever's listening, thank you. But Garrett Riley. So we have to really backtrack for this story because the first domino that fell, and I think it was important to say. So in 2012, Clemson, it was a real turning point, I feel, for their program. 2011, 2012, in that time frame, they had just suffered an embarrassing loss to the hands of West Virginia, Geno Smith, and Tavon Austin, 70-33. And there was progress being made within the Clemson program. And I think people my age may not remember it as much, but I know my older audience definitely does. If they were a Tiger fan or just watching the game at the time, going, man, Clemson's close, that was ugly. And it was kind of an embarrassing, one of those embarrassing losses that you go home and you reflect and you go, okay, change needs to happen. And in that offseason, Brett Venables was hired as the defensive coordinator from Oklahoma. He was plucked from it was the Big 12 at the time, might not have been. He was plucked from Oklahoma and he was sent to South Carolina to pair up with Dabo Swinney to fix the defense and prevent that from happening again. And it took some time for Venables to kind of get his feet on the ground, feet established, kind of bloom where you're planted, as Dabo would say. But things started to change. Clemson would beat LSU in the Chick-fil-A Bowl, or the Peach Bowl, however you want to call it. Clemson would go back to the Orange Bowl 2 years later. And I remember I had a woman sitting next to me. She was like, man, I just don't want another repeat of West Virginia. Clemson was playing Ohio State, and they're able to win and make a couple defensive stops, most notably an interception by Stephon Anthony to seal off a Braxton Miller-led Ohio State offense to really put Clemson on the map. And I always tell my friends, I always tell anyone that wants to talk about that era, and I say, hey, Clemson's not where they are today without that win against LSU and that win against Ohio State in 2012 and 2013. But I think the important thing you have to go back, and it's ironically, it was a decade ago. Change had to be made. And when you look at the Orange Bowl against Tennessee, did necessarily change need to be made? At the time, I wasn't sure. I didn't think Dabo would necessarily make that strong of a move, and that's nothing against him. It just really isn't his MO, the loyalty, the way he kind of defends his program. It was almost unexpected. And I wasn't trying to word it in a way that it knocks against him because what he's built is special here at Clemson. But when Dabo made the move to fire Brandon Streeter after just 1 year of being within the promotion of offensive coordinator, I went, okay, something has clicked within Dabo. He's not messing around anymore. And I just want to give some numbers for offensive averages. In 2018, when they won the national championship with Trevor Lawrence, they're averaging 44 points a game. In 2019, when they went to the national championship, fell short against the best roster of all time in LSU. They are averaging 44 points a game. In the COVID year, they're averaging 43.5 points, 43.5 points per game. That was the COVID season where they lost to Ohio State. Tony Elliott had taken over. Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne, DJ Uyungale's freshman year. And then you go to these last 2 years. Clemson averaged 26.3 points per game in 2021, and they made a slight jump, averaging 33.2 points per game this season. But I think when you look at it, you look at those 3 seasons where they went to the playoff national championship, pure domination in certain aspects, over 40 points per game. 26.3 and 33.2 was not going to cut it for Dabo Swinney. He put out in his press statement he wanted to have someone that met, and not only met, but raised the standard of excellence that he's established here at Clemson. And he did so in hiring Garrett Riley, who is one of the hotter names in terms of just everyone knows him now. He's one of the new kids on the block. Everyone wants to get to know him. He's got the new PS5 or Xbox One. Everyone wants to go to his house and play the new Call of Duty or the new Madden. They want to see what the graphics look like. They're bringing in new and inventive ideas. He's innovative, trying to be all, trying to get a metaphor or a saying or something. But regardless, Garrett Riley brings something that hasn't been in Clemson in a while, and it's the importance of new blood within the program. Even if Garrett Riley, he's not coming in to completely change the culture because he was a fan and he had to obviously want to be a part of this. But I think the importance of having someone that can say no, that can say, hey, we did things this way at TCU, or hey, I had this scheme at SMU that really helped against this specific coverage. That kind of thing. There's that new blood in the room that can bring those new ideas that doesn't know anybody anything in that room. That's something that was very important to me when Dabo was going to make this new hire. I said, okay, who is it going to be? It's going to be Jeff Scott, who's kind of been floating around as the top candidate to replace a potential firing of Brandon Streeter. But Garrett Riley, Dabo went for it. He not only sent a message that, hey, I'm not messing around. The standard has to change. I think it just, and it's ironic, and like I mentioned in a little backtrack, it was like a prologue. An Orange Bowl loss that may be viewed as embarrassing to others or embarrassing to him, he decided to make a change. And with Cade Klubnik, Will Shipley, Jake Brenningstool, Bo Collins, Adam Randall, he's got a lot to work with here. Riley's offense is all averaged at least 38 points a game, which was top 15 in the country at SMU and TCU. And you have your detractors who want to go, okay, well, Grayson, watch the TCU Georgia game. I did. I saw a Georgia team that was so much faster than TCU. It, I think, really shocked the country. I think we all probably should have seen it coming. Not 65-7 level of bad, but I watched those first couple drives and went, man, Georgia's just faster than TCU in every unimaginable way. Have we seen Georgia have a top 6? Have we not seen Georgia have a top 5? We have seen Georgia have a top 5 class. Pretty consistent. Have we seen TCU scratch the top 10? It shows on the field. The development, the speed, the raw talent when you lined up TCU's offensive line to Georgia's defensive line, you want to invert it, go the other way with Georgia's offensive line against TCU's defensive line. It was a mismatch in every single way, every single aspect. TCU's outgunned. And I think sometimes even if your scheme is better in the sense that, hey, I can draw up the X's and O's better than maybe Georgia's offensive coordinator can. But when you get some of those players that execute said scheme, and the guys on the other side are first-round draft picks, top 5 even, it gets a little difficult to be able to run what you consider to be the efficient way of doing things. So there is my little response to that. But yeah, the dust has settled on Garrett Riley. I have been able to think about it for a week. It makes me excited. My friends, my family, it's excitement. It's really invigorated some life. If you were at the Clemson basketball game on Saturday, you could tell there was a different energy, a different air when Garrett Riley stepped onto the court to be introduced as the offensive coordinator. Things are getting exciting, and things have changed in a different way. I'm really excited to see how things progress and develop, and I'll obviously be on this podcast to do it for you. Thank you guys for listening. As always, be sure to subscribe, like the video, do all the things. Type whether you agree with me, whether you disagree with me. If you want to see my NFL playoff breakdown video, tell me what your biggest takeaway is. I'll have the podcast clips and the full episode posted on YouTube, and then the full episode, of course, posted on all other platforms. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to hear me talk and rant about these things. I love it, and I hope you do too. Leave a rating, leave a review, do all the things. Thank you guys as always, and have a great day.